Before I leave this second section, let me just add a little bit. When the Americans widen the war and arrive in South Vietnam, although they had already done this. Hold on a second. Okay, good. They divided the country. So here you'll see up here, I'll just move, it's just above me there, is this little red line. This is the demilitarized zone. Let me go back for a second. Sorry about this. Okay. Now it's just, okay, now it's okay. So I'm just underneath the demilitarized zone here. This is the 17th parallel, the famous 17th parallel. And just below it, so between the top of my frame and the straight line across, which is 17th parallel, you'll see the little dotted line. That's the DMZ. Okay. The reason I'm saying keep your eye on it is because here we are now down at the American level of the country. So this is everything that's on the map here. That's Vietnam. That is the light sort of beige area is South Vietnam, right? And the Americans, being American, divided into 4 military zones, which are called I Corps, 2 Corps, 3 Corps, and 4 Corps. Not 1 Corps, right? I Corps. So if somebody says, oh, I fought an I Corps, it means that they were right up near the DMZ. Now, Quang Tri was a dangerous place to be, so was Hue, and Da Nang was one of the first places that the Marines came ashore. Believe it or not, they actually did come ashore the way they expected to in World War II. It was a photo op. But just about any of the names that are on this map are markers of terrible ongoing battles. Pleiku particularly, Dak To Kanda, all of these. Ban Me Tuot, Dalat, Block Nint, yeah, I mean, every single one of these marks a terrible ongoing battles. So there was fighting all through South Vietnam, right? So if you thought, oh, well, I'd be safer around Saigon, it's like, not so fast. There actually was lots of killing in and around Saigon. Okay. So these 4 military zones are the next step for the American military. Okay, so I want you to get some clarity here about, so who's fighting who. This is the last little piece of this before we get to the war at home. All right, let's just focus for the moment on the North Vietnamese. The North Vietnam, the communists of this flag, were known as the NVA, the North Vietnamese Army, right? The North. These are people who are fighting, they're Vietnamese who are fighting for United Vietnam, which will be communist. In the South, people who are Vietnamese sympathizers who are fighting with the North Vietnamese, but are not North Vietnamese regulars because they're in the South, are so-called Viet Cong. These are guerrillas, right? So they don't have, I was gonna say they don't have a formal organization, but that's not really true. They have a very staunch, very strong organization. But initially it's it does not look like a formal army. And so in the American alphabet, which I talked about before, where the phonetic alphabet that you use on radio, on the airwaves, basically, talks about VC as Victor Charlie, right? Because V is for Victor and C is Charlie. Right? Alpha Baker was Alpha Baker Charlie. Delta Echo Foxtrot Golf Hotel India and so on. So V is Victor. So when you're saying this stuff over the radio, you would say, I have 3 Victor Charlies. You don't say VC because you can't tell. It's like what could on the radio could be D's and E's and whatever you got. So I have 3 Victor Charlies, KIA, killed in action. Okay, please advise, whatever. So VC in the US military alphabet is pronounced Victor Charlie, or is spoken as Victor Charlie, and hence Charlie becomes Charlie. So you just refer to the enemy as Charlie, Chuck, Mr. Charles, and so on. Okay. So these are the people who are who are fighting. Geez, I wish they were voting and not fighting. who are voting. Jesus, Tim, get it together. Okay, fighting in the north. In the south, if I can get my mouse back, thank you, is this South Vietnam is this monarchy, which is a provisional democracy. It's supposed to be a democracy. It doesn't ever really function as a democracy, but that's the idea. So the United States is propping up what isn't communist. Let's put it this way. Whether or not South Vietnam was ever going to function as democracy, at least it wasn't going to be communist. And that's what the Americans were like, okay, that's fine. And fighting for the South Vietnamese was the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, which is usually just spoken as ARVN. And so people say, oh, we've got ARVN with us. I need you to focus on the difference between these two things because they're so similar. The ARVN versus the NVA. Okay, so you need to pay attention to these two different initialisms. The North Vietnamese Army, the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. Right? The NVA should give it away. The NVA is the North, right? North Communist. The ARVN, the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. Vietnam means the South in this case. Republic is really the sort of is the tip off that this is the democratic group. Okay,